Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and here are this morning's headlines. Madhya Pradesh's farmers' agitation turns violent, 5 killed in firing. Chief Minister announces 1 crore rupees compensation, curfew imposed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi likely to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Astana. India-Pakistan all set to become full members. Met Department updates a monsoon forecast to 98%, rains to hit the national capital by the month end. RBI's monetary policy review today. Central bank likely to keep key rates unchanged. Makes case for lower interest regime due to low inflation. And Donald Trump claims credit for the isolation of Qatar by Gulf countries. Says his recent visit to Saudi Arabia was already paying off. Our top story this morning, the situation in Madhya Pradesh's Mandsaur remains grave after the death of 5 protesting farmers in the police firing. Following the incident, farmers across the state have called for a bandh today. The political leaders across the party lines have condemned the attack on farmers. Meanwhile, the state government has announced a compensation and ordered a judicial inquiry into the incident.
In the latest series of developments in Madhya Pradesh farmer strike, the mobile and internet services remain suspended in Mandsaur, Ratlam and Ujjain, and curfew has been imposed in sensitive areas. Appealing for peace to the agitating farmers, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan announced a compensation of 1 crore rupees to the kin of those killed in the Mandsaur violence and 5 lakh rupees for the injured. Chauhan has also ordered a judicial inquiry into the incident.
मैं प्रदेश की जनता से, किसान भाइयों से फिर अपील करना चाहता हूं, शांति बनाए रखें। सरकार किसानों के साथ है, जनता के साथ है। कुछ लोग माहौल बिगाड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वो प्रदेश की शांति के साथ खिलवाड़ करना चाहते हैं, उससे बचें।
Meanwhile, parties across the political spectrum have condemned the attack on farmers. Taking a jibe at the government, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi tweeted that the government was at war with farmers and feeding them with bullets for demanding their rights. The left party, on the other hand, demanded an explanation from the Prime Minister. The JDU also condemned the attack on farmers. The Samajwadi Party has announced compensation of 2 lakh rupees for the kin of the deceased farmers. The Congress Party has said that it would support the nationwide shutdown called by Rashtriya Kisan Mazdoor Sangh.
निंदनीय है और ये एक इतना गंभीर प्रकरण होने के बावजूद भी शिवराज सिंह चौहान की सरकार और गृह मंत्री कह रहे हैं कि पुलिस ने गोली नहीं चलाई। तो गोली किसकी लगी? 3 लोग, 4 लोग, 6 लोग जो मरे हैं, इनके पास तो हथियार थे नहीं, तो आखिर किसने गोली चलाई?
At least 5 farmers were killed and 4 others injured in police firing during a farmers' protest in Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh on Tuesday. Farmers in the region have been protesting since June 1st, demanding higher prices for their produce and loan waiver. The agitation by farmers has led to a shortage of milk and vegetables in the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the farmer strike in Maharashtra continues to hit the prices of vegetables there due to short supply. The farmers in the region have been protesting since 1st of June, demanding higher prices for their produce and loan waiver. The agitation by farmers has led to a shortage of milk and vegetables in the state as well. In Pune's Agricultural Produce Market Committee, the inflow of vegetables and fruits was only about 50%, resulting in their prices going up by 3 to 5 times. The farmers locked the offices of Talati in some villages of Kolhapur and Nashik districts as well. Now, despite the government announcing a loan waiver for marginal farmers on Saturday, the agitation has continued. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has alleged that some political leaders are milking the ongoing agitation.
अभी कुछ लोग इसके ऊपर राजनीति करना चाहते हैं। हमने बातचीत के लिए अपने दरवाजे खुले रखे हैं। ऋण माफी कैसी हो, किसके लिए हो, इसके बारे में कोई अगर सुझाव देना चाहता है तो महाराष्ट्र की सरकार उन सुझावों का स्वागत करेगी, उन पर विचार करेगी।
On to the other big story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to meet on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Astana this week amid growing differences between the two countries over a number of issues. This will be the first meeting between the two leaders this year after India boycotted the high-profile Belt and Road Forum last month, expressing concerns over China-Pakistan economic corridor. The two nations also have a disparity over India's admission into the NSG, with China vocal about its stand to block New Delhi's admission into the 48-member. Now, the summit, which is being held from 8th to 9th of June in Kazakhstan, is special for India, as it would be formally admitted into the China-dominated six-nation grouping along with Pakistan. Till now, China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan are the group's full members, while Afghanistan, Belarus, India, Iran, Mongolia and Pakistan have been given the observer status. And back home, the meeting of the Congress Working Committee took place in the national capital on Tuesday. Now, taking a jibe at the NDA government, the main opposition party criticized the dispensation at the centre on several issues, including the situation in Kashmir, farmers' unrest in the country and the economic situation of the country. Now, expressing his concern over the impact of demonetization, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh said that the country's economic growth has slowed down and it has hit the job creation. Meanwhile, the BJP government hit back, saying that the Congress Working Committee meeting should have worried about Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi.
जो बेईमान है, जिन्होंने गरीब, दलित, शोषित, वंचित के पैसे को मारने की हिम्मत की है, उनके पैसे पर करप्शन और भ्रष्टाचार किया है, वो डरें। मगर जो ईमानदार है, जो देश के लिए काम कर रहा है और सच्चाई के साथ काम कर रहा है, उसे डरने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। इन 3 वर्षों में हिंदुस्तान ने ये फलसफा देखा है।
Congress Working Committee, the highest decision-making body of the main opposition party, met in the national capital on Tuesday to take stock of the political situation in the country. Several leaders, including the party president Sonia Gandhi and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, criticized the NDA government on several issues, including economy and social harmony.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास, लेकिन उसका बिल्कुल उल्ट किया इन्होंने। ये सिर्फ नारों और पब्लिसिटी की सरकार है, जो टेलीविजन में तो हीरो दिखती है, लेकिन जमीन पे जमीनी कामों में जीरो है।
Congress President, in her opening remarks at the meet, also hit out at the NDA government's Kashmir policy.
सरकार ने जो पॉलिसी कश्मीर के लेकर इख्तियार की है, वो कन्फ्रंटेशन और एलिनेशन की पॉलिसी इख्तियार की है। हमारे जवान रोज मारे जाते हैं, सिविलियन मारे जाते हैं, चाहे उसमें बच्चे हो, नौजवान हो। ये जो एलिनेशन की पॉलिसी है, ये सरकार की, ये गलत पॉलिसी है।
The issue of elections to the post of President and Vice President of India also featured in the discussion at the CWC amidst attempts by the Congress to forge opposition unity on the issue. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
The Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday urged Punjab and Haryana to undertake joint efforts to resolve the Satluj-Yamuna link canal issue. He was replying to a question on Punjab Chief Minister Amarinder Singh's statement that the construction of the canal to provide water to neighbouring Haryana could trigger a revival of militancy in the state. Earlier, the Punjab Chief Minister had warned that if the final judgment goes against Punjab, SYL will become a national issue. He also said that the state would be pushed back to its dark days of terrorism if the SYL resolution does not address the state's concern. He further said that any such a negative development could lead to a major crisis in the state. The Congress leader further said that he requested Home Minister to start negotiations on the issue through the Water Resources Department in the interest of peace and stability.
मैं समझता हूं कि संबंधित राज्यों के आपस में बैठकर इस मामले को निपटाने की एक बार फिर से कोशिश करनी चाहिए। और जो हमारी जोनल काउंसिल की मीटिंग थी उसमें भी मैंने यही आग्रह किया था और इस पर सहमति बनी थी और आपस में सभी राज्य मिल बैठकर इस समस्या का समाधान निकालते हैं तो मैं समझता हूं कि सभी के हित में होगा।
Now, the Reserve Bank of India is likely to keep interest rates unchanged during its bi-monthly monetary policy review today. RBI Governor Urjit Patel-led Monetary Policy Committee on Tuesday began its bi-monthly interest rate review. Now, the central bank is expected to keep policy interest rates as unchanged, but it may lower inflation forecasts. The sluggishness in the fourth quarter GDP at 6.1% once again brings back the growth concerns for the committee. But experts say that the RBI may wait for the 1st of July rollout of the GST and assess the impact of the new indirect tax regime on inflation before tinkering with the policy rates. Remember, on 6th of April, the Reserve Bank had left its benchmark lending rate unchanged at 6.25% for the third monetary policy review in a row, citing upside risk to inflation.
Nobody is expecting a rate cut as of now because we are on the cusp and that monsoon season is about to start. So obviously, first 2 months of the monsoon season, we'll have to see how the monsoon is this year. The expectation is, of course, normal or above normal monsoon, but it has to happen. And then only market is expecting that RBI will come out with some kind of rate adjustment. The inflation has come down, but the growth has not picked up and growth has also come down. So this time around, the marketman is going to focus on the language which he is using.
Because the financial data and the other data of the government is suggesting that is a very comfortable data. Inflation and everything is in control. Whatever is expectation of the RBI as well as the government, that is in line with. So we are expecting as a public, as a market, there should be rate reduction. So there would be ease to the general public at large as well as the corporates.
In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
अगर बायलैटरल क्रिकेट टाइज नामुमकिन है तो मल्टीलैटरल इवेंट्स खेलने का क्या मतलब है?
आतंकवाद और खेल साथ साथ नहीं चलता।
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है और जिस तरह से क्रिकेटर्स पैसे बना रहे हैं, उन इश्यूज को अभी तक किसी ने डील नहीं किया है।
उसके ऊपर सुप्रीम कोर्ट पहले ही बैठी हुई है। मेरा रिएक्ट करना मैं नहीं समझता है कोई नई बात होगी।
There is an impression that all is not well between you and Mr. Manoj Tiwari.
कुछ गलतफहमी हुई थी, वो दूर हो गई है। तो ऐसा तो हो जाता है, परिवार में भी हो जाता है, बाहर भी हो जाता है।
Watch to the point with Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports, Vijay Goyal, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Unakoti, the famous Shaiva pilgrimage spot in Tripura, dates back to the 8th and 9th century. The name means one less than a crore. It owes its origin to an interesting legend that says Lord Shiva, who was on his way to Kashi, stopped here for a night halt along with gods and goddesses. Together, their number totaled 1 crore. At sunrise the next day, Lord Shiva was incensed to find all the gods and goddesses still asleep. Cursing them to become stone images, he left alone for Kashi. Unakoti, apart from its rock-cut carvings, has an imposing Shiva head called the Unakotishwara Kal Bhairav. Other eye-catching works include 3 enormous images of Nandi bull that are half buried in the ground and a gigantic Ganesh. To this day, the logistics of these huge carvings remain a mystery.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back after the break. Now, doctors from across the country took part in a rally in the national capital on Tuesday to demand a stringent central law to curb increasing cases of violence against them by the kin of patients. Around 10,000 doctors gathered at a Rajghat with 100 ambulances after marching from 13 different locations in the city.
The Indian Medical Association on Tuesday held a protest march in Delhi against atrocities faced by the medical fraternity, including increasing cases of violence against doctors. The association organized Dilli Chalo movement, which saw the participation of over 10,000 doctors from various parts of the country.
उनकी मन के अंदर में मेडिकल के अंदर में जो वायलेंस हो रहा है, जो डर बैठा हुआ है, जो फ्री माइंड नहीं है, हमारे सिंगल विंडो रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं है, सिंगल विंडो अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं है, प्रोफेशनल ऑटोनॉमी नहीं है, हमें काम करने दो फ्री माइंड से, ये हमारा बेसिक मुद्दा है. इसके लिए हमसे बैठे और बातचीत करें.
The protest aims to address various demands of the medical fraternity, such as capping of compensation, single window accountability with no criminal charges on doctors without intent to harm a patient, and single window registration of doctors and medical establishments.
हमारी डिमांड है कि ये स्वच्छ स्वास्थ्य सेवा हिंदुस्तान को मिलनी चाहिए. स्वास्थ्य सेवा का शोषण नहीं होना चाहिए. ये जो शोषण हो रहा है, ये जो सिस्टम चल रहा है, ये एंटी पब्लिक, एंटी पेशेंट्स है, एंटी डॉक्टर्स है. ये डॉक्टर्स पेशेंट्स का रिलेशनशिप खराब कर रहा है.
संगठित हैं आज हम और हैं हमारे हौसले बुलंद. अब नहीं है हम डॉक्टरों में कोई भी अंतर्द्वंद. हर सदस्य की मांगों का अपने मेमोरेंडम में करके समावेश, अपने अधिकारों की रक्षा ही है अब हमारा उद्देश्य.
The protest, however, did not affect services in government hospitals in the capital. Mohammad Fateh Tipu's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now get you the weather update. Well, the mercury is rising by the day in the national capital, and with it, the annual worry of power cuts. The Delhi government directed DISCOMs to compensate consumers against the unscheduled long power cuts. The heat wave have also intensified across most parts of the country. But the Met Department has some good news now. It says that the monsoon is likely to be better than expected, which was expected. It says that the country's annual monsoon rainfall is expected to be 98% of the long-term average this year.
North India is reeling under an intense heat wave. Many cities have registered their highest temperatures in recent times. Delhiites continued to suffer for the second consecutive day on Tuesday as temperatures hovered in the mid-40s. To make matters worse, high humidity has further increased discomfort. The weatherman has predicted dust storm or isolated light rains from June 7th onwards. On Sunday, the temperature in some parts of the national capital touched 47 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the soaring mercury level has pushed Delhi's power demand to an all-time high. The capital's peak consumption demand touched 6,361 megawatt on Monday, the highest ever recorded in any city in the country. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal held a review meeting with the Power Minister and Power Department officials and has directed DISCOMs to increase capacity to handle the pressure.
अगर 2 घंटे से ज़्यादा कहीं अनशेड्यूल्ड पावर कट होता है इलाके में, तो उस इलाके के कंज्यूमर्स को उसका कंपनसेशन मिलना चाहिए. इसका प्लान पिछले साल बनाया था, वो हाई कोर्ट ने स्ट्रक डाउन कर दिया था कि एलजी से इसकी अप्रूवल नहीं ली गई. तो अभी सीएम साहब ने कहा है कि इसका पूरा प्रपोजल तुरंत आज ही एलजी साहब के पास भेज दें. और
In Uttar Pradesh, the temperature touched 46 degrees Celsius in capital Lucknow. The Bundelkhand region is the worst hit with mercury logging an average of 47 degrees Celsius. Punjab and Haryana continued to reel under blistering heat, with Amritsar being the hottest in 2 states at 46 degrees Celsius. Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district, known for its pleasant weather, also bore the brunt of summer. Heat wave conditions prevailed at many places in Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh as well.
बहुत बेहाल होए पे हैं गर्मी नाल, बहुत बुरा हाल है वीरे. कॉलेज आउंदा जमा ही दिल नहीं करदा, एग्जाम करके आउणा पै रिहा वा. बहुत औखा भाई जी, बहुत औखा वा।
ईयर से भी ज़्यादा यहाँ पे, यानी कि ये हिली एरिया है, यहाँ पे इतनी गर्मी नहीं हुआ करती थी, लेकिन लास्ट 1 वीक से इतनी गर्मी ज़्यादा हो रही है और उससे बचने के लिए लोगों ने डिफरेंट जगह पानी के स्टॉल लगाए हुए हैं, अलग अलग जगह से फ्रूट लगा दिए गए हैं और काफ़ी जगह से, क्योंकि किसी तरीके से जो भी लोग बाहर से आए हैं उनको राहत के लिए उन्होंने पानी लगा दिया ताकि लोग उससे बचें।
However, in what comes as respite, the Met Department has said that the country's annual monsoon rainfall is expected to be 98% of the long-term average this year.
So, in view of the positive scenario for monsoon, we have upgraded All India figure from 96% to 98% of the long-term average for the 4 months of June, July, August, September of 2017.
In April, the IMD had forecast this year's monsoon rains at 96% of the 50-year average of 89 centimeter. With Anu Diwan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in Assam, over 1 lakh people have been affected by floods in Lakhimpur and Karimganj districts, while 4 rivers are flowing above the danger mark across the state. Now, as per Assam State Disaster Management Authority, over 1 lakh people are reeling due to the floods in these 2 districts, whereas 140 villages are underwater. Now, Karimganj is the worst affected district with nearly 97,000 people, while more than 4,500 were hit in Lakhimpur. Currently, all the 4 rivers in the state are flowing above the danger mark across the state, including Dhansiri, Barak, Katakhal and Kushiara. The calamity has also damaged crops in close to 400 hectares of land. Let's get you some international news. US President Donald Trump has claimed credit for isolation of Qatar by its Gulf neighbors and has called the move as the beginning of end of terrorism. Now, Trump said that his recent visit to Saudi Arabia was already paying off. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the UAE, Yemen, Libya's eastern-based government as well as Maldives have all cut diplomatic and other ties with Qatar, accusing the country of supporting terrorism in the region. Now, Qatar strongly denies the allegations. It is noteworthy that in Trump's recent speech during his visit to Saudi Arabia, he had urged the Muslim countries to take a lead in combating radicalization. The speech is being seen as the likely reason to have emboldened Gulf allies to act against Qatar. However, White House has insisted that it was trying to resolve the Middle East rift with Qatar.
The United States continues to be in close communication with all the parties to resolve the issues and restore cooperation, which is so important for regional security there. I think that there is note that his message of toughness on terror finance and extremism is being heeded by countries in the region. But the U.S. still wants to see this issue de-escalated and resolved immediately, keeping with the principles that the President laid out in terms of defeating terror financing and extremism.
Meanwhile, the political storm surrounding Qatar is impacting life in one of the world's biggest natural gas producers and travel hubs that relies on food imports. Now, panicked residents have been rushing to grocery stores to pile up essential food items. Now, this as trucks transporting food and construction materials were stopped from entering Qatar from Saudi Arabia. It is noteworthy that Qatar imports more than 40% of its food needs through Saudi Arabia. Qatar's stock market also fell by more than 7% on Monday, though it recovered somewhat on Tuesday. Meanwhile, flights were also delayed at Qatar's Hamad International Airport. The country's flagship carrier, Qatar Airways, was forced to reroute Europe-bound flights over Iranian and Turkish airspace after Saudi Arabia and Egypt blocked Qatari flights from using their airspace. While Saudi Arabia says that now Qatar must take several steps to restore ties with Arab states, Turkey says that isolating the country will not solve the crisis.
We want to see Qatar implement the promises it made a few years back with regard to its support for extremist groups, with regards to its hostile media, with regards to its interference in the affairs of other countries. And we have taken this step with great pain in order to make sure that Qatar understands that these policies are not acceptable and not sustainable and that they must change.
Körfez İşbirliği Konseyi üyelerinin kendilerindeki meseleleri karşılıklı diyalog yoluyla çözmesi en doğru yoldur. Bu çerçevede Katar'ın ortaya koyduğu soğukkanlı ve yapıcı tutumu takdirle karşılıyoruz.
And let's get you some more international news in Global Buzz. French police shot and injured a man who had attacked an officer with a hammer outside Paris's Notre-Dame Cathedral. According to police, the attacker's motives were unclear. The officer sustained minor injuries in the assault. France is on a high alert for jihadist strikes after a weekend attack in London. At least 7 civilians were killed and 16 others were injured in an explosion in western Afghanistan. The blast took place near the northern gate of the Great Mosque of Herat. It was one of the deadliest attacks in the country since the start of the war in Afghanistan in 2001. And Brazilian police have arrested 2 top officials close to President Michael Temer in the ongoing Operation Car Wash corruption investigation. Authorities arrested former tourism minister Henrique Alves in a corruption probe. Also, former Brazilian lawmaker Rodrigo Roca Roures were arrested in another bribery case. All right, let's get you some sporting action. At the French Open, unseeded Latvian Jelena Ostapenko reached the semi-finals of the women's singles with a shock win against former world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki. In the rain-interrupted match, the 19-year-old lost the first 5 games of her first major quarter-final, but then she won 4-6, 6-2, 6-2. With the win, she becomes the first teenager to reach the French Open women's semi-finals since 2007. Meanwhile, in the other women's quarter-finals, Swiss 30th seed Timea Baksinski beat France's Kristina Mladenovic in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. The win puts the 27-year-old Swiss into the French Open semi-finals for the second time, having been beaten in the last 4 by Serena Williams in 2015. Meanwhile, defending champion Novak Djokovic and 9-time winner Rafael Nadal will play their men's singles quarter-final matches today after rain postponed their respective encounters on Tuesday. Now, world number 2, Djokovic will take on 6th seed Dominic Thiem of Austria, who is 4th placed, while Nadal will meet Spaniard Pablo Carrero Busta in the last 8 encounter. News from the world of cricket, and England reached the semi-finals of the Champions Trophy after beating New Zealand by 87 runs in their Group A match at the Cardiff yesterday. Put in to bat first, the hosts were propelled by half-centuries from Alex Hales, Joe Root and Jos Buttler as they reached a total of 310 runs. New Zealand were on track in the chase until their captain Kane Williamson departed for well-made 87 runs, leaving the Kiwis at 158 for 3. Now, Williamson's departure led to a batting collapse as New Zealand were bowled out for just 223 runs in 45th over. New Zealand must now beat Bangladesh and hope Australia lose their match against England to qualify for the semi-finals. Meanwhile, in today's encounter, South Africa will take on Pakistan at Birmingham. South Africa cruised into a convincing win in their opening match against Sri Lanka, and a win today will almost confirm their place in the semi-finals. Now, Pakistan, on the other hand, were thrashed by India in their opening match. The Asian side would now need at least a point from this match to remain in contention for the knockout stage of the tournament. That's all in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.